Hello, everyone. Happy Friday. Oh, wow, there's strong light on me. That's okay. Okay. We should be good to get going. Oh, I gotta turn the music off. I like the new music. All right, we'll go ahead and stop that. Oh, hello, everyone. Happy Friday. I just got the text out, so hopefully some of our folks there are going to come over and join us. So just wave hi if you're here. Our Friday class is just all about feeling good, getting back into like the creative spirit as the weekend starts again. Hopefully you have a little bit of time maybe to grab some tools and make something pretty. Treat yourself to have something new, exciting to wear. I think it's a great way to start the weekend. So I hope you'll beat along or chit chat along. Just hang with us this hour. It's not gonna be too long of a class. I'll show you the design in just a moment. For those watching this on replay, hello to you in the future. Super helps out the channel if you like this video and subscribe to the Sam Speech Up YouTube channel. I thank you in advance. Shall we start beating together? I'm going to flip the camera around. Let's see. Something like that. Alrighty. So our design today is somewhat visible on camera. I don't have my fancy phone stand is at the office, but this worked last week for class just fine. Once we got into the groove of it. We are doing a celestial moon necklace today that looks like this. So the main components that we'll be going through are the moon pendant, which is really not too hard. It's almost a little bit of a free-form design to it. And then, since we have these bronzite moons in the shop now, I thought it would be nice to use some of those to complement it. What do you think? It was important to me that they stay facing forward, which is why I add a little wire embellishment. We're going to do some fun little swirls. You probably have done them before. And what that'll do is that'll keep them from twisting. You don't have to worry as much about twisting in a necklace anyway, because when it's laying against you, it's going to want to stay flat, but we have some extra assurance. Alrighty. I hope things aren't freezing for folks. Let's see, I'll close some of my extra tabs. You know I always have a million open. Oh yeah, I have everything open on my computer, so I'll go ahead and close some things. Hope that helps the stream. If it is glitching for you, it usually helps to leave and come back. But sometimes technology is just not on our side every single day. But I hope it'll be with us today. Alrighty, I have everything open. Let's see. That should be a big bit better now. Okay. Hi, Shira. Told my sixth graders that I was going to watch a class on how to moon, and they were perfectly horrified. Yeah, we're teaching mooning today in class. Okay. So, this is a pretty basic stringing project that is complemented by the wire components. So we're definitely going to start there, since that might be the slightly trickier part. And then we will go on, do a little bit of the stringing. But I've got this all ready for us, so we'll just be able to crimp it off and call it a day, because I'm sure everyone's going to kind of end up with their own version of this anyway. I'll kind of talk about some of my ideas of stringing up the necklace, but I think you should kind of take it in your direction too. Hi, Ruth. Oh, hi, all the friends are here. Lovely. Um, I believe you can actually get anything from this necklace. Every single bead we have on the website right now. Jesse was very kind and shot some extra photos for us today to make sure everything was on the website. So the bronzite moons, these lovely aqua cathedrals, these brand new daisy spacers, and then I'm using some seed beads. Oh, our carved by cones. And then our blue seed beads are from the holiday seed bead mix. So every single bead in this necklace you can purchase. This might be a first that we are actually launching some beads with a class. I just published these matte gold daisy spacers because I fell in love with them when I opened the bag. Look at them. And for the first time, we've released a new item with a class on the website. So Jesse just dropped the link where there's a collection of all of these items all together. So if something is still in stock, it'll show in that collection. Let's start with our moon. Let's start mooning. Let's go. This is our Fly Me to the Moon necklace. For this piece, you're going to need 18 gauge wire. As you can tell, I'm on high supply, but I think we'll make it through. And then for the spiraling, I used I believe a 20, it's pretty flexible what you use. 22, 20, 20 will work. I'm going to go with a thicker 20, I think. Will work nicely. And then for the beads, we've got some bronzite moons from the shop. I took these are all the rejects. Can you spot all the little, this one was like, didn't have a full crescent. This one was chipped. I was like, no, I'm using them. I could use them. You'll need some larger beads. These are 9mm bicone. These are an 8mm cathedral, 5mm daisy spacer, and then some seed beads as spacers, and that's basically it. Got my soft flex and crimps. So he says I have to sing Fly Me to the Moon. I wish I knew more than one line of that song. So let's start with the moon. Here is our ultimate goal for the moon. We're going to use, I thought it would be kind of pretty with a little cathedral accent, but use whatever you like. And I don't have as strict measurements to show you on this one. But I'm going to start with more than 6 inches of wire just to make sure I have enough to do my wrapping. Since my wire is a little wavy looking, let's go ahead and straighten that out. Let's get it warmed up so it's ready to go. Just going to come in with my nylon jaws just to get that started. See if I can see how it's pretty. This end of this roll is not looking so good. Kim says, even broken beads need love. I agree. Oh, come on. There's some bumps in that area. Come on. Change the direction a little bit. Okay, that's a little better. It's also warmed up a bit, so that's good. So go ahead and fold it roughly in half. You are going to want one side to be a little longer. So go ahead and start your fold. If you do that against the plier, sometimes it can make it a little sharper. But either way, your goal is to start folding in half and creating a fold not dissimilar to that fold we did in the heart class last week. Sorry, Shira doesn't like chocolate. I'm following these comments and just saw one of the most absurd comments I've ever seen. Shira. All right, so I'm coming in with some flat nose and pinching that together a bit. But since the moon is not really closed, like I don't want it to be, I want it to start opening pretty quickly. So I'm going to go ahead and open that up a little bit just so it's closed closer to the end there. That should work. Now I'm using my very fancy tool, this old bottle of hot sauce. It was like the perfect size, and my round mandrel was, I think, is hiding at the office right now. I'm just gonna pull both wires around a good amount, something like that. You can kind of do it how you like. About there should do it. So now you have two identical, almost semicircles there, but no moon. So let's see, this one's a little longer, so I'm thinking of which one I'm going to want to end up being longer. And just start to separate those and bend that in, and you'll start to create your moon shape. You can then come in and grab what we had originally pinched together and twist it so that it comes in parallel a little better. And we're going to hammer this all out anyway, so it'll be okay. But try to maintain this curvature that we created. To almost wishing I'd gone farther on this piece so that I could keep going there. But that's fine. And kind of roughly come up with the shape that you like. Let's see. Well, not hating this. Thank you, Wanda. Wanda says she likes my moons. Thank you, Wanda. So our goal here is one piece is going to come upwards and one piece is going to wrap around. So to do that, I'm thinking back to how I liked it when I made that last one. I'm going to fold this longer inner side upwards. Just give that a nice sharp bend. I think this will do what yeah, this is what I wanted it to do. And we're going to do our wrap loops with this smaller piece here. So we want to try to keep this shape. So keep an eye on that as you go. You can even hold it with some nylon jaws so it won't go anywhere. Let's try to make some coils there. This is our 18 gauge wire. Hi, Lori, welcome. I think just 2 reps will be fine. Let's get that a little bit farther, shall we? Come in with our flush cutters and tuck in our end. See how my coil's a little, has more gaps in it than I would want? I'm gonna go ahead and tighten up the coil a little bit. I think those small details are really important, especially as you try to think about making your pieces feel a bit more professional. I think those small details really make a difference. And I'm literally just talking making coils that you're happy with, trimming and cutting it and tucking in your ends. All those small things I think really make a difference. So we've got our rough shape. If you look here, it's intentionally bent that way so that when it hangs, the moon will kind of not, so the moon will kind of hang a little nicely, not too symmetrical. Right now, if we had put the loop there, it would do just kind of like that. But if I can tilt that, my goal is to have it lay a little bit more like that. Shar said, how pretty would a moon wrap with opals be? That was an idea for this. I was like, how complex should I make this? You could totally add on to this pendant whatever you like. For today, I liked the look of like a simple focal. Alrighty. Let's get this wire a little straighter so that we can, it's gonna be a little tricky, I can already tell I didn't treat it nicely. I won't be able to get my bead on this thick wire if it's all messed up. There we go, something like that should work. And let's grab one of our cathedral, so I'm saying it's all messed up there. It's very angry with me. Sometimes you gotta show wire what's boss. Who is boss? There we go. And so right now it's still pointed upwards. So let me see if I can go ahead and make the bend first. Hold my design and push this, right? If you push it right at the bottom, you should be able to keep it all straight. Alrighty. I actually want the, you know what, I totally lied. If I want the if I want it to hang more like this way, I'm gonna have to bend it the other way. Pray for this wire. Alrighty, something more like that. And now it'll hang like that. So ignore everything I'd said before. Totally unhelpful. And goal here is I want to make a wire wrap loop that can easily be strung onto my bead wire. So I want my loop to go this way. I'm going to give myself a little room for some coiling. Well, am I going to have room anyway? I don't think I'm going to have that much room. So let's go ahead and do a simple loop for this one. So start with more wire than I did to give yourself a bit more options here. There's no round nose pliers next to me. Okay. Here we go. We'll come in with our nylon jaw and make a pretty big loop. So come up higher up on your round nose. And did I make it too big? Okay, there we go. See, it's all a little crooked. We can come in with our flat nose or nylon jaw to get that all fixed up. Alrighty, we've got our lovely little moon pendant. I think we need some hammering. I typically would hammer it before I put on a bead, but we can still make do as long as the bead isn't on the steel bench. So this is a steel bench block. Come in with, I believe it's a chasing hammer, and make sure the shape is what you want before you start hammering, because there's not really going to be a way to go back from here. Some light taps, start work hardening it. But not only am I wanting to work hard in this, I really want to create some texture. I would love to kind of add that kind of square look to the wire. So let's see what we can do. I'm gonna see if I can bring that tip up a little bit. And I wanna start there. And you see how it's already rapidly changing. I'm gonna focus more on this side. Start flattening out that wire and see how it has kind of a nice shine to it now. This is bare copper wires, which is what is allowing me to be able to hammer it. If you're using a coated wire, hammering it will reveal the inside wire. So use this sort of pendant will work better with a solid wire, like solid copper, solid sterling. Alrighty. And we've got a pendant. Step 1, complete. Lori says my small beads are falling off the table. Were they jumping? Was everything jumping? That's funny. What brand tools am I using? My needle nose looks so pointed. I recently restocked my tools from Home Depot, because Michael's was closed and I needed tools in a pinch. I've been really happy with these two. Came together pretty cheaply. This Crescent brand. It came with a flat flush cut and some pretty pointy needle nose. And I like it because I can get into tucking the wire in so easily. And then I also got another pair of flush cutters. And these ones are good on thicker wire. Like this one can be used on 18, and this one can be used on thinner gauges. I think one was from the electrical section, one was from the hardware tool section. But you can get, I'm sure, much better tools that are actually made for beading. I just was in a pinch and now it's working, so I'll stick with it. So now that we've done our first piece, and now that Sam has lost his pendant in his pile in the corner here, if you're curious, I also did an experiment with a 20 gauge wire, and it does work, but it is a lot more flimsy. I am not worried about this 18 gauge. You'd actually have to try to break it if you wanted to mess with it. So let's get this out of the way. I need more room. You ever get that feeling you're like in the middle of a project, you're like, there are a lot of steps I have envisioned for myself. Where do I go next? So let's continue with making sure our components are all ready to go for when we start stringing. So we've done component 1. Now we can go on to make our pretty simple and fun bronzite little accents. So I'm going to pick out another bronzite from the rejects pile. And this one we can use a thinner gauge wire with, and you actually need to because I don't think you won't be able to fit an 18 gauge through the whole of that bronzite. Let's go with a 20 gauge. And with these old stocks, you gotta check that the drilling is all the way through. You might need to get out your awl. The drilling is all the way through, but sometimes you need a thinner wire. Like I probably wouldn't have as much trouble if I used 20 gauge or 22 gauge. All right, let's stick with this one. Give yourself a good amount of wire because we're gonna do a coiling and some messy wrapping on the moon. So let me get myself a good at least 20 inches here, if not more. Just have plenty to go with. I'm gonna do the same thing I usually do. Not everyone will say to do this, but I really like to get my wire warmed up a bit before I start working with it. So all that means is I'm pulling all the way down the length of the wire to warm it up. So to start our coil, I switched my end of the wire, so this is the end that is fully warmed up. And I'm actually going to cut this at an angle. I have a theory that this helps the spiral. Someone can disprove me, but I think it helps. So we've got more of a pointed tip because I used the flush side and I cut it intentionally at a diagonal. It's a little pointy now. So I'm going to come in. I'm going to come with my flat nose. You could also do this with your round nose just to get it started. And fold that point inward. So this is a minute detail. I'm folding, there's an open flat face angle that's this angle, and I'm going to fold that inwards towards itself, towards the wire. Just so I can have a nice center of my spiral. Just need to do a little bit, and then you should be able to come in here. Woof, this wire moving on me? And pinch that in. Come on. So it's pretty tight there. And I'm actually going to go ahead and hammer that a little bit. Not required. But I like the idea of creating a nice spiral. Here, we can actually do a little bit of wrapping before we hammer it, just to actually see what we're doing. So grab your itty bitty start of spiral and just start maneuvering it. Okay, now that you can actually see something, we can hammer that. It'll kind of flatten all that together a little bit. And I think create a nice look to the start of our spiral. Now, grab it, and it's the fun part. All you're doing is pushing little pieces, let the wire in a little bit at a time. So I'm holding it and pushing. Adjust, and just keep going. And that's kind of your basic spiral. This is the same technique you would use, say if you wanted that to become a head pin. Fadi says, Sam, you're getting so good and comfortable at teaching. Well, that's good because it still feels terrifying. Because I can't, especially with I don't have as much control over the lights here at home. I just am relying on the sun right in front of me. I can't always see everything I'm doing. If I'm at the office, I have those lights on, I can actually see everything. Alrighty, let's see how big. That's looking good. And you can choose the direction that you want your spiral to face. On both of these, I have them facing the same direction to match. So the wire's coming down to the right side. But it gets even trickier because this is going to be folded up. So if I keep it on the right side, it will then stay on the right side. It'll just get mirrored. So put on the piece the direction that you want it to go, which is our magical piece we had found. This will be easier with a 20 gauge. Come on. I just know because there's in these old beads, there's some just little bits of dust and stuff, and you need an awl to kind of get that stuff out. And that last bead kinked up my wire, so now I get to deal with that. Easy fix. Shar, I better not lose more light. I can't afford to lose any more light. Okay. Come on. Okay, so recommendation here, do this with 22 gauge. And you will have a lot less difficulty than what I'm now having. There we go. Alrighty. Like I can tell it's not an issue as much with the hole because it actually has wiggle room. Oh, and my phone's wiggling, great. The wire has wiggle room, but I can tell that there's probably some little dust particles in there that want to be said goodbye to. Alrighty, give yourself a little bit of a gap so that there's room for it to be folded over and be on the bead where you want it to be. That's up to you. Get myself about there, and just always keep your hand firmly against that stone so that the wire is doing what you want it to do versus choosing its own direction in life. So that's actually nice and secured on the wire. Let's go ahead and start our wrapping. This is the part I found the trickiest, because as you do the wrapping, it's going to want to kind of mess with and pull on the wire from the bottom, since it's not just a classic head pin. But we'll get to that in a second. I'm going to go ahead and fold it away from me so that my loop is ultimately going to be able to strung onto my beading wire, and then come with my round nose to make a pretty decently big loop again. What's the fun in a small loop? I think a loop can kind of be a little design element. Now is where the tricky part comes in. Grab that, but I really got to keep an eye on how far I actually want to do this, because it'll just keep feeding me more room by stealing wire. I can already see it starting. So I need to stop that from happening. It's a little tricky. So I need to not go any farther. I need to start reversing the direction of the wire back up so I can continue my messy wrap. And now I'm pretty safe that I can, whatever I do now is not really going to steal more space from the spiral. Didn't end up being that messy. Fine, it's fine. We'll go with it. Alrighty, on the back, always best to trim there. And careful tucking in your ends so you don't mess up all the work you just did. And then you can always adjust that a little bit. There's our first moon. Shall we do our second moon? And then we'll have all of our components done. We've got that moon, and let's find another bronzite that'll work. And yes, I guess I had about a foot of extra wire. So probably more like 18 is plenty. I'm still gonna stick with my 20 and see if I can, so it matches. But that 22 is gonna be easier for you. The only comment I do see, Shara, is LOL, Sam not knowing what's going on in the comments. Oh, not a clue. You know I can focus on one thing at a time. And right now, I want to show y'all how to make this fun necklace. I'll take a pause after I finish this one. I'm going to turn on my overhead and see how that does. Oh, just about nothing. Just a little bit. Sam, do you go through a lot of wire? I mean, I didn't used to. These are all wires I purchased years back, but I've finally I never thought I'd see the end of these, and this is the first time I've seen the end of one. That's my 18 gauge. Because basically all of Rachel's classes use the 18 gauge as a frame. Alrighty, coming in to make my point, folding the point towards itself. Come on. The start of these spirals is always tricky. Because you gotta hold it steady and keep everything in line. Okay, it's folded in. Start our spiral wrapping. I'm going to hammer the center of my spiral. I wish it was more of a messy wrap, Tracy. I like the look of a messy wrap. Sometimes I just can't do it. So, see how nice that start of the spiral now looks? I think I'll be a lot happier now when I continue. Is anyone else going to try out some of these moon ideas? I want to see, there's so many things you can do with these bronzite beads. I like also think these could be really cute earrings. At first, I was going to use those as the focal point of this piece. I had made this jumbo hoop. This is where all my 18 gauge went. And was going to hang it in there. But it was not calling to me. This was a mix of rice beads and pyrite from the December box. And I was like, okay, the hoop's too big. I don't really like this design. It's not doing any, like, it's not accomplishing anything. And then so I was like, I want to figure out a moon pendant that I like, and came to that. You could make a smaller version to make earrings. I think it'd be so cute. I also wanted to involve these daggers I just got, but alas, I can't. Once I started stringing this up, I was not able to put every single bead that I dreamed of in one necklace. The desire was there. All right, so for this spiral, let's check in on sizing to see if see right now it's about one spiral smaller than the other. Let's get those to match up. Okay, that should be good. Alrighty, and then this is the right side. We want it to ultimately end up there. So let's put on our bronzite. If we have one that will cooperate. Look at that. So here's what I mean. It's on the right side while I keep about the same gap length. Maybe a little less. Fold that up, keep everything nice and tight. And there's our second one. Fold that over. Lori says, I'm thinking a sun and moon earring pair. Wonder if that would look okay. I think that would be incredible, Lori. I think you should follow this fully. That you're basically imagining that they'd be a matching set. One earring is a moon, one earring's a sun. I love those like Alexandrite, like those Alexander looking sun that people do with wire. I think those are beautiful. All right, let's make our loop. And let's try this again. All right, it's about as far as I want to go, so I need to try to get the wire and push on it a little bit with my index to kind of get that coiling to head back the other direction. Ooh, maybe we can actually make it messy this time. I can feel it coming. Rachel says, close your eyes if you want it to be messy. I have never done it. Oh, I don't like how that one turned out. Let's get that other wire. Oh, come on. Okay, a little messier this time. And we've got our last component. Thing one, thing two, thing three. Here we go. So let's take a quick pause and see where we're at. So in designing this, let's talk about that for a sec, because there's a lot of ways you could do it. I thought it was nice to give some space. I originally had fewer beads here, and these were sitting a lot closer to the other moons, and it kind of just felt like it disrupted. I liked the look of it feeling a bit more open, so I added on more beads. So, and then I was going up and kind of figure out my palette. I went with this aqua and gold look, basically a combo of the cathedral, the spacers, and then the carved bicones. I thought all complement each other really nicely. So come up with that, whatever palette you like, and then I think stick with it. Because all the way going up, it's just those beads. And our cathedrals are all spaced out all throughout. Let me tighten up this. This is, yes, a chip clip. I was cleaning off my desk a couple days ago and found about 100 bead stoppers. So those will be lovely to have. Come on, there we go. Also here, so we've got our rice beads and then lots of stacks of the daisy spacers and then seed beads basically throughout as just a little accent to give space. I think those sorts of little spacers make a really big difference in design. That if those beads if those spacers weren't there, everything would feel a little crowded. It's definitely a design choice, but I tend to gravitate towards putting in those little spacers wherever I can. So I always strung this up on Soft Flex. I think this is a Soft Flex Lapis, medium size. It's this beautiful dark blue that I thought complemented the palette really nicely. This isn't really a design that features the color that well. Like I'm not really having too much exposed lapis. I would love to. That's kind of exactly how this design turned out. So I went ahead and got us all strung up. And this one's about, I'm gonna guess 24 inches. When I'm making necklaces for myself, I have to make them longer. This one's gonna be over 24 inches, which is great because one, it could mean it could be claspless. Like I'm gonna try this one right now and see. Yeah, it's just long enough to be claspless. I'm gonna go with that. I was gonna have us make a toggle. Oof, it's a little, maybe we still do a toggle. But when I'm thinking about designs for myself, I have to deal with usually a collared shirt. And to get past that, an 18-inch necklace is just gonna get caught up in here, and a longer necklace will do a lot better. Have I missed about 1,000 mooning comments? Oh God. Oh my goodness. If I just make it a little longer, I could just skip that clasp altogether. So I might as well. I already have the soft flex cut. So I'm gonna go, these are a 10-0 check seed bead. And I have it dumped out in my little container here. So let's search for more blues. Let's add on maybe 10 more of each on each side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I think I lost one. 7 again. 8, 9, 10. And then I'll show the claspless. Crimping right after this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Will I ever sort this? No, this works great. 9, I think that was 10. Yeah. All right, so this should be long enough that I really don't need a clasp for this now. And what I can do is grab one of my crimps. These are a 2mm sterling crimp from Softflex. I am excited to read these comments later. I clearly have missed a whole party in the comments, but I hope y'all are having fun. Just put on my one crimp. You could do a double crimp if you need, but I don't usually need to for Softflex. These are double-walled crimps. And go ahead and bring that through. It is okay to cross your wires, but it's not ideal. And in this case, it's not necessary for the design. So I've gone ahead and kept them separate. I've pulled enough that I know my necklace is going to be tight enough, but not too tight. And this is where you could use some extra hands. Come in with my crimps. Whoa, something did not work there. That was weird. The indentation didn't make properly. Maybe let's try that again. Interesting. I might have squeezed it at the wrong part. I think I did. So this crimp is not going to be ideal because I've already messed it up a little bit. Oof, okay. I'm kind of hoping it'll just break itself off at this point so we can put on a new one. Not my finest, but it is going to hold for now. I'm not going to cut off that Softflex until I really know that I'm happy with it. It's a little tricky to cut off a crimp, but actually it did end up folding itself over and I think it'll work okay. It just might not last quite as long. Ah, the whims of crimping. And we have our piece. I guess one design element I didn't talk about was I did a bit of color blocking of dark blues into more of a golden section, into another dark blues, and back and forth. For the golden section, it's stacks of 5 gold spacers in this pattern. So there's 4 stacks with our different beads mixed in, and then the rice beads with seed beads as a blue section. And then to finish off my strand, I kept it nice and simple with some seed beads and daisy spacers. Mike says, do I ever use crimp covers? I used to use crimp covers and I stopped. I don't, I didn't feel that they were like I didn't hate the look of my crimps. Like if I've done a crimp better than I've done this one, I'm usually fine with it. And it looks like it only has one seam, and I think it actually looks fine. I don't mind it. But that's totally a design preference every designer should make for themselves. You can even get good at the magical crimpers, which then you wouldn't need a crimp cover in the first place. But if I don't think that crimp is distracting, I'm not going to spend time putting a crimp cover on it. And deciding if how much I trust this crimp. It actually feels, I'm pulling on it, it feels very sturdy. So I'm going to go ahead and make the plunge and cut off my extra. I might regret this, and I'll be just restringing this entire piece. Alrighty, that feels pretty good to me. And I've got my necklace. In terms of when you're stringing it on, it's helpful to keep in mind the beads that are going on either side of the loop, because it'll affect how the bead lays. In this case, all of my beads are bigger than the loop. None of my beads are going to fit through my loop, therefore these pieces can't move anywhere. I have this one anchored between 2 of my cathedrals, and this one isn't going anywhere. It has a little bit of room, which is I don't mind. I kind of like the freedom it has, but it's not going to be able to skip over the next bead. That feels nice. Go ahead and try it on. Yeah, I'm glad I added that extra length. Let's see where it lays. Somewhere. Let's get this. Here's my moon pendant. So my moon pendant's currently hanging a little bit. I'm trying to see if I like how it's hanging. It's hanging off a little bit to one side. That's something I could definitely, if I just adjusted the wire, I could get that to face the direction I want. But generally, that is the design. Did folks have any questions that I missed while I was going through? Please drop in the comments again. I'm going to actually try to catch the comments now. Let's see, I'm going to catch up on a few that are here. Yeah, Jessica, I have the magical crimpers too. I have not gotten the hang of them. And I've watched Sarah Ayler use them so many times demonstrating the ravioli. There's something about how the angle or something that I'm doing that they never quite work. And it's definitely one I've heard that takes practice. And once you get it, you're going to be able to get round crimps with the magical crimper. Ruth says, I'm going to try your moon in all different sizes. Love it. I like the color blocking in the necklace. I'm thinking about knotting it. I'll revisit later. Yeah, there's no reason you couldn't mix wire components with the knotting. Absolutely. Love that idea. Or you could do a mix of stringing and knotting too. Alrighty. Brooke says this design is out of this world. Why, thank you, Brooke. Love the pun. Can I hold it up closer? Sure. I'll hold it up in both cameras. So here's how it's hanging. Something like that. I'll go back to the other camera. It's a little easier to show. So if you joined us a little later in class, just watch the replay and you'll be able to, I went through making all the pieces for this. So that was our moon pendant, our spiraled bronzite moons, and then I jumped ahead to putting on our crimp and calling it a day. Is that a little clearer? Alrighty, let's see if I missed any last comments. Wanda, I was thinking I truly need a bust. Like at this point, I'm pretty much only making necklaces because I used to make a ton of earrings because I liked that was like a quick win, that I could make something quickly. But then now that I want to wear everything I'm making, so I'm pretty much just making necklaces. And now I have one more for my collection. So the only specialty tool you need for this one was the hot sauce bottle for the moon wrap, and the diameter is 25 millimeter at the thin part of my bottle. So find what, if you have the round step mandrel, figure out where the 25 millimeter mark is on that. You can use that, and and then you can adjust the size of your moon a lot easier that way. Donna says, "I'm really disappointed you didn't use the pan this time." Donna, I'm very thankful that the steel bench block has shown up again. You can tell that I've had this for a while. I haven't ever really cleaned it, but it works great. And you can do most things you want to do with one of these simple bench blocks. Anna Marie says 25 millimeter equals about an inch. Thank you, Anna Marie. Alrighty, folks, I'm going to go ahead and call it a day. I actually have, I'm not going to Tucson this year, and that makes me sad because Jess and I went to Tucson in April of last year for the delayed Tucson, and it was so much fun, and it was a small version, and now it's supposed to be a larger version this year, maybe, but it's just not feeling quite right. So we decided not to go, but I'm still very determined because I really like shopping at Tucson. It's a really great place to curate beads for the shop. So I've got my first call with one of the vendors that I met in April. Jesse put a sad face in the comments. And I've got a first call with them, and we're going to do some virtual Tucson shopping. So it makes me so happy. I feel a little bit eased that I still get my Tucson experience, sort of, from the comfort of my home. I'll take it. And still get to kind of curate some of the new gemmies for this shop. So we'll still get to have our own Tucson experience at Sam's Beach Shop once these goodies arrive, and it'll be a lot of fun. So thank you. I think we should go ahead and wrap up. Everyone, have a lovely weekend. If you're inspired to make from this class, please share it in the Gem Chat group. It's so great to get to see when folks are inspired by the classes. And it's really cool. I only saw a couple of the heart pendants, I think, in Gem Chat. So I'm hoping folks will make that once we starts getting closer to Valentine's. We'll want to make the heart pendant from last week. But obviously this moon you could make anytime as well. We've also got Mother's Day, April, May. I'm a terrible son, clearly. I think the heart design could be fun to revisit in a new format for that one also, perhaps. Alrighty, everyone, have a great night. I hope you have a lovely weekend. Thanks for hanging at Sam's Beach Shop. If you want to pick up any of the beads that I used today, we have that linked in this post. Jesse might be able to drop the link one last time. All these beads are available if you want to make a similar piece. And then I want to see it. Alrighty, y'all. Have a good one.